Elite Expert Insider, the podcast that educates, inspires, and motivates you to take your business and life to the next level. We would like to thank Audible for supporting Elite Expert Insider. Please go to the link bit.ly/Elite Audible. That's bit.ly/Elite Audible and get a free 30-day trial to show your support. Thank you, Audible. Now to Elite Expert Insider for conversations with industry leaders. Hey, Melanie Johnson here along with Jen Foster again. How are you doing today?
Doing great.
So we have another incredible podcast for you. We bring you quality people, experts in their field. So we want to remind you to subscribe to our podcast, like it, share it with other people, share this awesome information that we give you every week. And also, I want to tell you, we've got our book, How to Write Your Life Story and Leave a Legacy. It's available on Amazon. So the podcast is brought to you by Elite Online Publishing. If you'd like to be a #1 best-selling author and share your story, leave a legacy, pass your information on to others, so they can learn from you, that would be great. You can contact us at eliteonlinepublishing.com. So we have a special guest here today. You're going to learn some incredible stuff. Jason Sisneros is with us, if I can get all the S's out.
I know, it's a tough one. Good job, though.
So we're going to talk about motivation, sales, influence, and then on top of that, not only is he incredible and top of his field in that, he has given back to the community and talk about his philanthropic things that he is working on will just touch your heart, may even bring a tear to your eye. I know it does mine, and we've been trying to get involved on our level. Jason, welcome, and thanks for coming today.
Thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate you guys bringing me on your show.
Thanks, Jason. So tell us a little bit about your background and where you came from and, how you got to where you are today.
It's a great question, and I as many times as I've told it, I struggle still with like what's the right mix, right? I want to preface it by saying that my story, as I kind of tell it, it's not about me. It's about the fact that the reason why I exist. I think I've been so successful is because I'm sort of an example of if that guy can do it, then I can do it too. Like, I wish there was another example, but that's the best I can use. But I was adopted when I was fairly young. My adopted father happened to be a very abusive man, married my mother. And from the time I was about 6 years old, he was throwing her through walls and broke my nose 18 times, ended up going to prison when I was 17 for attempted murder of me and my mom. And then, basically, he was a drug dealer, collected money, that sort of thing. And what I did was, I think what most children do in the early part of their life is they do what they witnessed, right? Minus the abuse. I've always been very protective. I mean, probably 12 of the broken noses that I got were me stepping in front of my mom. So I've been protecting women from a very early age, but dealing drugs and collecting money, I was very good at. I was good at fighting, obviously been, doing that with my adopted father for a while. And went and followed the family footsteps into doing that. And then I decided to get out of that when my first son was born. I didn't want my son to live that life. For me, it was okay, but now I've got a child, and I didn't, somewhere in there, when my grandmother had taken me to church at some point in time, I heard the sins of the father born unto the children, right? And I thought, if there's ever going to be a time to break the cycle in my family and my family name, then why not have it break with me, And I left that lifestyle and started into traditional business. My first job was hand peeling logs for log cabins,
Yeah.
My biceps and my shoulders were huge, but for $6 or $7 an hour, it was a big shift, but
wow.
honorable work. And, and just kind of worked my way up and ended up buying my first business. I went bankrupt the first time. And just to make sure that I'd screwed everything up, I went bankrupt a second time. And just to make sure, because I'm a little hard-headed, I went bankrupt the third time.
Wow. Well, and like most people, I mean, there were some hard times in the last, 10, 15 years. So A lot of people have the bankrupt story, but 3 times, yeah, that's tough.
It's interesting, and part of the lesson that I've learned, and other people that have come from these horrible backgrounds, there's a whole learning curve. When you come from a decent family, I'm not even talking about like a good family, I'm just saying like a decent family that instills in you some basic human values of how to treat people, the difference between a truth and a lie, good and evil, bad, those types of things. I am fascinated by people that are raised in good families, right? And I've been determined to raise my children in that because it's a giant step ahead. Like I'm still at 30, I'm 46 now, but at 30 years old, I still remember thinking to myself, I'm not 100% sure if this is the right thing to do, right? And living my life in such a way that I was still figuring out the difference between right and wrong. And I don't think that I figured it out until about 10 years ago. To be, about 36 years old is when I started. Yeah, there was a shift and there was an understanding. And here's how my shift happened. It was a baseball bat upside my head multiple times, and by making the bad mistakes, and I cheated in my marriage, which, you're not supposed to do. I went bankrupt. There's business failures and friendship failures and being a decent human being failures, right, along the way that I had to learn. And so I think teaching your kid those lessons, it gives them a big jump start. But I'm always fascinated by people that have come from my background. And there's a lot of us, right, that didn't have a really good childhood. And as I've traveled around the world, it's been fascinating to see how we work through it in our own ways to become productive human beings on this planet. So it's fascinating.
You've overcome so much. I mean, when I read your history, I didn't realize, because you're such a positive guy. When I see your Facebook post and, you just exude this motivation, positivity. And when I read your story, and your nose looks really good, by the way, for being.
Thank you. I had a doc. It's funny, when I was growing up, it was on this side of my face. It was over here. It was crushed in. It was up. This is a doctor's handiwork. So.
Well, it looks really good.
Yeah.
So of the bankruptcies, let's start with the business side of it a little bit.
Yeah.
So you learn a lot by having those 3 bankruptcies and mistakes. And what do you think are some of the key things to having a successful business for an entrepreneur?
Well, I'm going to try to answer that question with non-fortune cookie answers, right? Because we all watch podcasts and that's how I've educated myself, through books, right? Through books and podcasts and shows like yours and learning by osmosis. So I want to, even if I do say a cookie cutter, like a fortune cookie answer, I want to dig underneath it a little bit, because Great. I believe that in business, because I came at it, I was in a cash business called drugs, and collections, and there was no accounts receivable, if you know what I mean, right? And so from the early, what I just started doing, I did bring with me from the street a loyalty, right? And an understanding that you can only do as well as your team and your crew that you have behind you. And so I brought that into business, and, I knew nothing. I mean, literally nothing about business. And I had 2 things that I focused on, which was my team first. And it was always first, right? It was always ahead of time. And, thank God for that, for having that understanding coming into business, because I think that hamstrings a lot of people, that your people kind of come second. It's like, okay, I have to hire somebody, so I'm going to pay them the least amount of money, and I'm going to find the person that's the easiest to get to, my uncle or my cousin or my best friend's nephew, and and all this other kind of stuff, and you don't really spend the time finding the people that are truly loyal to you and the outcome. Second thing that I knew inherently was that you had to take amazing care of the customers that used you, right? And those are the 2 things that I started with. And my businesses did well. We did a lot of revenue, but I didn't have the financial understanding to be able to take those decisions and understand that money is only telling me a story about the activities that I'm partaking in my business, and whether I need to improve them, change them, stop them, start new ones, those kind of things. I didn't understand that. So early in business, I would say that knowing your team is number 1, even if you're your only team,
Yeah.
You're number one, because without that, you can't service your team, and you certainly can't scale a business unless you have people that are treating your customers as good or better than you would yourself. Right.
Right.
And secondly, what does your customer want? We all start a business thinking we know what our customers want, and we don't ask them. I constantly ask. I bug the crap out of our businesses. I own multiple companies now. And it's part of our DNA that we ask questions constantly about, hey, is this what you thought you were getting? And if not, what can we do to improve it? Right? We look for failures because we know inherently built-in failures. I'm about to give you a cookie, a little fortune cookie, that inherently built-in failure is the keys to success. What that means is you have to seek it and legitimately seek it, not like, okay, I really want to fail. Most customer service scores and conversations that are had in the marketplace are BS. They're trying their best just to get a high score so that they can get a bonus. They're not truly intrinsically trying to find out, what was your experience with me and my company and my people and our product? You got to want to know. And honestly, the answers that you get are from 5 and under. When you get a 0-5, 5 and under, because that's where you're going to learn about how to improve. Okay. And then where you build your business and where you make all your money is your 9s and your 10s who will refer you. And that's where, we don't like having sales teams in anything I do, from janitorial all the way to, to car washes or whatever businesses we're talking about. We don't like to market or advertise. We want our people, we want to serve them at such a high level and give them such a great experience that they're going to tell everybody. And that's pretty much our marketing budget, very minuscule in all of my companies. So those are the things that I would say are very, very important and to focus on, as far as that goes. And I want to drop this piece in here because it's important. I think that people build their business to as big as their mindset allows them to. Again, another fortune cookie. It's on every meme, positive thinking meme that exists on the internet. But what I mean by that is, most of us we want to do as good as we can, but we don't want to stick up the tall poppy, the nail sticking up. And, we don't want to become that tall poppy, because there's a lot of us that have things that we've done bad. This is, like I told you, my first book. I 8 miled myself. I'm like, here's all the bad stuff that I've done, to people in my life and all this kind of stuff. There it is. So, and since then I've made some mistakes, so I got to update it probably. But, the point being is that when you have something to hide, your power drops from, you lose about 80% of your power and your ability to succeed, because you've cheated in a marriage, or because you've, gone to prison, or you've gone to jail, or you've gotten a DUI, or you've got all these things that we try to hide. We live in a society, you can't hide that stuff anymore. You can hide it while you're playing small. You can't hide it while you're playing big. Right. And so don't hide it. We all made mistakes. Tell the world, what did you learn from it? Because that's the value of it. And honestly, I think that's why, again, I get invited to speak, because there's no BS. I have nothing to hide. I've screwed up every which way possible. And if I haven't said it on TV or on a radio or on a podcast and somebody comes at me with it, I'll make a huge story out of the mistake that I haven't said yet.
Yeah, the authenticity is key.
You have to be authentic. It's a must. You can't BS people. Number one, we have these these BS detectors, right? And people can see it from a mile away, especially, and I wish I had it, women's intuition. I don't, but women have that extra little bit to know. And anytime you catch a woman looking at you like, right? Just that little look, like,
you had that look a lot because you got it down pat.
Yeah, well, I pay attention. But anyway, the point being is that you need to out yourself. You need to tell the stories that you're afraid of people finding out, and pretty soon you'll understand that you actually serve more people by the mistakes you've made than you do by hiding it. So that was a long answer, but I hope it covered some of the bases.
No, that was perfect. And I love your vulnerability and authenticity. I mean, I think that just really, it shows who you are. And that's part of being good in business too, is showing that and owning it when something goes wrong and trying to make it right afterwards. Because not everything, the process, no matter how much you're on top of it, the process sometimes just fails us. There's technology and other things that can just fail us, and things happen. You have been so involved. You've taken a lot of these life lessons that you've learned and you've transcended them into helping other people and helping a lot of women. Tell us a little bit about that journey, about how that started and how maybe other people can get involved with you.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk about it. When I very first came, again, my mom and I, and then my little brother, when he was born later, we would end up in homeless shelters. Not homeless shelters, but protective custody, those kind of things. And, the system itself is set up for failure. The people that are there have the biggest hearts, and they're there to serve, and they're there to lift people up, but it's wildly insufficient for the problem of domestic abuse. And so, we would go in and the idea that I had in my heart, because my mom, her name's Rita, and I named a foundation after her. And what we did was, I look back, I got this idea when I was about 26 years old, that if I could build, and I thought about my mom, right, who's brilliant and funny and beautiful and amazing and smart, and she has all of these positive things, but she had that beat out of her by life, and she couldn't run. I mean, she tried to run away a couple times. He would hold our entire family at gunpoint until we'd come back. Like she would kidnap me. I mean, he would kidnap me, and there was just all these crazy things that, unless you've been in the situation of domestic abuse, you don't, everybody's like, oh, just leave his dumb ass. Sorry, but but it's not.
That's harder than it sounds. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
They would if they could. And unfortunately, even though they can, they don't see a way, because these mental manipulators can absolutely convince a woman that she is in the wrong for even thinking that there's anything wrong, by wanting to have a better life or to protect her children, right? And so it's this pattern. Anyway, long story short is, I thought about my mom. What would have been the ideal situation for her, right? If somebody would have reached into her life and said, okay, while he's in jail, let's take you and your family and actually physically relocate you across the country somewhere. We will pay for a home. We'll pay for your children's clothes. We'll put you up. We'll get you a job. We'll give you some job training. I put domestic abuse victims through Tony Robbins events all the time. To reshift, because that's where you have to start that
mental shift
process. And, I don't know I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a doctor. I'm just somebody that went through this stuff and thought up a way. I don't raise money. This is not something you can donate to. It's all supported by my own businesses. It all comes out of my own profits. And I don't, like I say, I've never taken $1 from anybody else. I don't want $1 from anybody else. And that supports that. So that was my first endeavor. It's still going on. We still help people, these women. And then that morphed into, being asked to be part of Feed a Billion, which, Tony Robbins, a matching donor. AJ came up with it at one of Tony's events.
And we've interviewed him. And you can look back on the podcast and look up AJ's interview.
AJ's just an amazing human being. I mean, as good as gold. And him and I, we're like fire and ice. We love each other, but we're completely different personalities, right? But anyway, stepped in and to help him with that, and then being asked to be a part of, some undercover rescues of underage sex slave little girls. I'm part of that. It's something that drives me, and this is part of, what. I had a conversation with a gentleman, and Sean Barnett's his name, and we sat down, and I didn't have a verbalization for it, but when you talk about business and drivers, because everything that you're going to do in business and everything you're going to do, philanthropy, whatever you're going to do with your family, whatever you're going to do with your own health and your body and all that kind of stuff, has to come from inside, right? There's this internal drive, this internal energy, and money's not going to be it. It's never it. It may be the driver for the moment because you have to feed your kids or pay the rent or whatever it is, but it's never the thing that actually causes you to become the human being that you're capable of becoming, right? And Sean and I were in this just a random conversation, and he said, Jason, here's the most important thing that you can understand. And I know it drives you, but I want to give you the verbalization of it. And he said, it's shadow mission, you know? And I said, explain to me what shadow mission is. And he said, shadow mission is, let's say that you got that phone call to say, hey, Jason, we want you to go on this undercover rescue, your past life skills and blah, 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 blah. We need your help. And if I would have said no, all of a sudden, my shadow mission is that I'm now for the rape of little girls around the world, right? So it's a massive shift, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go from,
so that's a big paradigm
it's
change.
a massive shift.
You're against me, right?
Yes, and same thing with AJ, right? If AJ would have called me up, and I actually did tell him no the first time, right? But you know, and then I heard that shadow mission. I'm like, oh, now I got to call him back. So I called him back, but I would have been for the starvation of children around the world, the starvation of men and women that are in war torn or they don't have any food, or they're in a drought, or whatever the situation is. Mm-hmm. And it's in my power, right? We always say, well, I'd like to help, but man, I'm busy running my business. I'm busy with my family. I'm a full-time mom. I'm a full-time dad. You know, whatever, I'm taking care of my elderly parents, whatever it is. Here's what I have discovered. And I wish I would have known this when I was 20 years old. I wish I would have known it, when I was 10 years old, is that the capacity to perform expands with your desire to serve, right?
Say that again.
So I don't know if I can. Sometimes my brilliance comes out, right? But your ability to perform expands with your desire to serve, or your capability to serve, right? And what I mean by that, and how it's showed up in my own life, is when I said yes to that, all of a sudden something else showed up to take some less important things out of my life, right? And I was able to step up and to step into that power. And now I look for places. I mean, feed a billion, right? I mean, that's going to keep us busy for a little while, right? We put a date on it, but if we don't hit it, we don't hit it. You know, we started out, we had our first year, we fed over 3 million people. Like, you know, and when you're comparing it to a billion, that's not a lot. But 3 million people, think about it.
It's a lot.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then you think about 2 million sex slaves. What dent did we put in it? You know, over 1,000 last year. I mean, it's not a big number, but it makes such a big difference. And the awareness, and you see things, and that led into, me being put in a position where I could align Ashton Kutcher and Tim, who started Operation Underground Railroad, and we're bringing, Sean Reyes, our Attorney General, all of us together around an event in March, where we're all going to be together. And Ashton Kutcher, like, if he posts anything, it's like millions of people pay attention. Yeah. So just the magic, and all of that wouldn't have happened, right? You look at, I say there's a linchpin, there's a commonality. I was in the middle of all of helping make these things happen, but I'm only there because I know and realize that my satisfaction, the legacy for my children that I'm going to leave, is by showing up. And there's been so many times when I'm like, why when I have reached this part of my life and in business and I'm very comfortable, why in the hell am I going to a third world country undercover and putting my life on, in danger for these things? Why am I doing that? And it's because I can. It's because I can. And it's never, I'm never sorry that I did it. Everything expands from that place. And the more that I serve, the more, whether it's God or the universe, the more that I'm given to be able to help more people.
That's excellent.
Think about that trickle down, right, Jen? That you just, started with one thing, and it's just trickled down to this other event with Ashton Kutcher, which that connection and those relationships would have never happened, and all the people that it affects. I tell my kids, I have the villa down in the Dominican Republic that we've done our book writing retreats at, and when we made that shift of, well, how can we give back? Times got tough, and my husband went through a bankruptcy, or ex-husband at the time, and so you think, what do I have in my arsenal, in my list of assets, liabilities, that I can turn around and give back to someone else and make a difference? people's lives. So you might not think like, gosh, I'm not in a position to be able to do something like that. But when you take inventory of what you have, and it may just be your time, but it may be other resources you have, people that you know that can open up those doors. And we talked about before the podcast started about AJ, how we had a connection with AJ, but it wasn't until I reconnected with you that put me back to Feed a Billion to use that villa to hopefully raise a lot of money at all your different events.
Yes, thank you for that, by the way. Thank you so
all
much.
those connections. So that's great that you taught people to open themselves up and say yes, because when you do say yes to an opportunity, then it opens doors to so many other opportunities.
It does. And you know, that's we talked about the hilarious fact that I was supposed to be at the Lee Steinberg event at the Super Bowl with y'all, right? And then I got the call to go do this rescue, and you guys met AJ instead of me, and I had to, like, you know, the old, like, Jason would have been like, oh, you're going to be around football players, and you're going to be around, you know, Lee Steinberg, and you're going to be all around. I was like, you know, I'll see that. I'll do that anytime, right? And but they need me to go, and it's amazing. And this, you know, I'm leaving a lot of people out, you know, and I don't want to leave the impression that this is in any way, shape, or form about me, because there's, you know, Ryan Long started City Gala, City Summit out of a heart of passion, right? And AJ started Feed a Billion, you know, with this heart of passion to serve. And, you know, and Tim started Operation Underground Railroad with his heart to serve. And Sean Reyes, if anybody knows Sean Reyes, this man is just service oriented beyond belief. Like, I can't even believe he's a politician. So, you know, and so all of this happens. And these people, all of us, even, you know, all of us that are on this call together right now, we're connected because of a desire to serve, right? Even if it's just our clients, but, you know, the life at a higher level. I am just in that role, right? I want to be able to become the best me that I can possibly be, so that I can serve at the highest level with my highest capacity. And it's never about any of us. And you know that people that are about things and cars and houses, and I've been that guy that thought, you know, that my worth was measured in the car and the house that I lived in, and the zip code and the trips that I went on and all that kind of stuff. There's, you know, there's an evolution past that is where true happiness lives. And none of this is about an individual. It's about a group of people that are trying to tip that scale, you know, the scale. It's on balance right now, evil and good, you know, and I'm just trying to throw as much of my big bald body on the weight of easy suffering. So
we got pounding in the background that's reconfirming that. I can hear that.
Sorry about that.
Well, thanks so much, Jason. I think what you just said was so poignant, and I think they're words for us to be inspired by and motivated by and to live by, to do those things. Tell us where people can find you and get involved with you, whether it's listening to you speak, going to one of your events, or getting involved in your nonprofits and your endeavors.
Okay, perfect. So for me, I mean, there's, you know, jasonsisneros.com is kind of, it's an underserved website because I don't like promoting myself very much, but my company is AntonJaE.com. And, you know, that's, they're both a private equity business and a consulting company. And we help companies that really are interested in optimizing their cash flow or optimizing themselves for exit. And we filter through, there's a lot of people that want to work with us for very obvious reasons. But we filter through the people that are going to take that additional abundance and feed it back into, it doesn't have to be our cause or my cause, but it has to be a cause that they're committed to doing. And, you know, service-oriented people. So that's how we help the business community is through a consulting company that actually does its job.
That's great. Well, we'll put those links up at the bottom there, and
thank you.
And people can go and check you out and
more importantly, feedabillion.org. You know, Operation Underground Railroad. We're launching another one. It's going to be launched with Ashton and on the child sex slavery and stuff with Ashton Kutcher, March 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and in coordination with the Oscars. So anybody can get to that event, go to citysummit.co or citygala.org, I believe it is. but just friend me on Facebook. You'll see all of this stuff. That's the one place. I don't do the Insta snaps and the Snapgrams and all the other kind of stuff that happens, but I am on Facebook.
Great. Well, they can go and find you, and they can also make donations at those two websites as well, right? Beat a Billion and Underground.
Yeah, time or treasure. That's what we're looking for.
Great.
We're going to preview just a little bit. Jason's announcing before, and I'm just going to say that he's coming out with a new book. So look for that coming up, maybe this spring or early summer, somewhere around there. But in 2018, for sure, he's coming out with another book. So make sure you check that out as well. Sure to be a great one. He said this one is so much better than the first book. So
way better.
And I'm sure the other one's good too. He's just being, being modest about it. So thanks for joining our podcast again today. Remember to subscribe to our podcast. We love seeing you hear it and see they're banging again. Do it.
Sign up.
Right there, and share it with other people. We'd love you to do that. And if you're looking to write a book and become a #1 best-selling author and to use it for your business to get more leverage, get more leads, and make more money, we would love to publish it for you. Contact us, and we'll see if you qualify to be one of our authors. And we have one of our books, How to Write Your Life Legacy, available on Amazon, along with 1,300 books of journals and guest books on Amazon. So check us out on Amazon, Elite Online Publishing. We've got all kinds of good stuff. We've got write it down journals, be a pineapple journal. So, write your goals down. We're firm believers in writing your goals, dreams, and visions down. So join us again next time. Thanks a lot, Jason. We'll see ya. And thanks, Jen.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
If you'd like to create the most powerful advertising tool for your business, contact us at EliteOnlinePublishing.com, where we will help you create, publish, and make your book a #1 bestseller, and show you how to get new leads and more revenue for your business. If you'd like to check us out on our Facebook page, we have a free book for you as our gift. Just go and click Free Book. Remember to subscribe and leave a comment for our podcast. We would love to hear from you.